The National Desk, America's News, now.
Total destruction as far as some houses, several people injured.
States bracing for another day of devastating tornadoes, one day after 17 touched down across 7 states. Who's on the watch for more tonight? Then stormy testimony in the courtroom. Did the details from Stormy Daniels go too far in the case against Donald Trump? And the Boy Scouts of America announces a new change that will forever alter the group in the name of inclusivity. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. Tornadoes continue to threaten millions of you out there as we come on the air tonight. The National Weather Service right now looking into whether a tornado touched down in Wisconsin earlier today, with reports of downed trees and power lines. Also a semi-truck being blown over in Walworth County there. Parts of Indiana, Illinois, and southeastern Michigan, meantime, on tornado watch until 9 p.m. tonight. This comes after yesterday's storms where at least 17 tornadoes struck 7 different states. Here you can see the aftermath of Barnesdall, Oklahoma, where there was at least 1 death. 1 person, we understand, still missing there. At least 30 to 40 homes were damaged in that town. This was the second tornado to hit Barnesdall in just the last 5 weeks. We'll continue to follow updates throughout the night, and you can stay up to date over on our website, thenationaldesk.com. This just in, federal judge Eileen Cannon has indefinitely postponed the classified documents case against Donald Trump. Judge Cannon said there are issues that need to be resolved around how the classified evidence could be shown before a jury. The trial was to begin later this month, and no new date has been set. Meanwhile, her name became synonymous with scandal and with Donald Trump. Today, the jury in a New York courtroom heard directly from Stormy Daniels, the adult film star, who our Christine Frizzell has more on in terms of what she said and what it could mean for the case against the former president.
Face to face in a New York City courtroom, former adult film star Stormy Daniels recounts initially refusing Donald Trump's invitation to dinner, later changing her mind. It was her accusations of an affair with Trump in 2006, followed by a $130,000 hush money payment 10 years later, just before the 2016 election, that are in some ways at the heart of the current case against him.
The primary reason I think she was there as a witness was to say the former president had a significant motivation to keep her quiet, to pay her the $130,000 so that she remained quiet or hushed.
Daniels recounted coming out of the bathroom after their dinner to find him posing on the bed in his boxers, saying he was bigger and blocking the way, adding, "I was not threatened verbally or physically." Trump described as increasingly irritated as Daniels gave explicit testimony about a sexual encounter that followed, details objected to multiple times by Trump's attorneys, objections often supported by Judge Juan Marchand. Trump has repeatedly denied any sexual encounter ever happened. His attorney Todd Blanche now calling for a mistrial.
Well, a mistrial means you start all over. It means that this was so prejudicial. What the Trump team is saying that, look, she's talking about a lot of details about this relationship, some of which are new we haven't heard before.
The request for mistrial was denied as the former president continues to make the case any payments made were not illegal.
We didn't put it down as construction costs, the purchase of sheetrock, the electrical cost. The legal expense that we paid was put down as legal expense. There's nothing else you could say.
Prosecutors say they believe there will be 2 to 3 weeks left in this case, which will almost certainly include the testimony of Trump's former lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen. I'm Christine Frizzell for the National Desk.
Christine, thank you. TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance is suing the U.S. government to stop the law that would would force them to sell TikTok to a non-Chinese company. The legislation signed by President Biden last month gives ByteDance 9 months to offload TikTok or see it get barred from U.S. app stores. ByteDance says the law blocks their First Amendment protected free speech and prevents users from accessing lawful information. The company also argues cutting financial ties is not possible within the given timeline, making it effectively a ban on the app. A U.S. airman who was killed in a shooting involving a sheriff's deputy on Friday has been identified as Senior Airman Roger Fortson. The Air Force said the 23-year-old died at his home near the Hurlbut Field Air Base in Florida. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office said the deputy was acting in self-defense. The deputy is on administrative leave as officials investigate. Guy Rivera, the main suspect in the killing of NYPD Detective Jonathan Diller, pleaded not guilty to all charges today. Rivera is now being held without bail. Police say Rivera shot Diller at a traffic stop in March. Prosecutors today said Rivera attempted to shoot Diller's partner as well, but his gun jammed. Guy Rivera has an extensive criminal record with at least 27 prior arrests. A trial date has not yet been set. A Tennessee-based sanitation company will pay nearly $650,000 in penalties after a federal probe found it hired at least 24 children at meat processing plants in Iowa and Virginia, which is illegal. The Labor Department said the work involved cleaning dangerous equipment and led to a 14-year-old getting seriously hurt. Fayette Janitorial Service, LLC, also agreed to stop employing minors. The future of Social Security and Medicare is completely up in the air. That's according to new reports from the program's trustees. They warn a lack of action from Washington could result in current and future retirees seeing their benefits slashed in the next decade. The National Desk's Atral Nashar has a closer look at the problem.
Part of every paycheck goes to fund programs you expect to be there for you one day. Guaranteed health care and income when you retire. That's no longer a guarantee.
The government's two largest and arguably most important programs, certainly for seniors, are headed towards insolvency.
Annual reports from Medicare and Social Security trustees estimate Medicare Part A will start running out of money in 12 years when today's 53-year-olds retire and the current youngest beneficiaries turn 77. As for Social Security, full benefits cannot be guaranteed to future and current retirees by 2033. Disability insurance is expected to see cuts in 2035. These are slight improvements from last year's estimates, thanks to fewer disability claims and stronger than expected economic growth.
We're running out of time to deal with this. If we wait until the early 2030s to try to deal with it, the game is long over.
Charles Blahhouse, a former public trustee of Social Security and Medicare, says the U.S. got into this mess through decades of creating and increasing benefits without finding ways to pay for it.
I think it's fair to say this is a severe abdication of responsibility to the public.
So how does Washington fix this? There are a few options. None of them are painless.
There's probably going to need to be a combination of slowing the growth of benefits for higher income earners, raising the payroll tax cap and getting more revenues to the program, adjusting some of the calculations we have for the benefits, and raising the retirement age for younger workers.
Now, this is a politically tricky issue, obviously, so we're really not seeing the leading presidential candidates spend much time on this issue at all. Amir, though, we do know that President Biden supports tax increases on the wealthy and allowing the government to negotiate drug prices, bringing up revenue, bringing down prices. And former President Trump did recently say in an interview he would not make cuts to the programs, but while he was in office, his budget proposals did include cuts.
Yeah, it seems like there's no easy solution here. If nothing is done and these latest projections pan out, how extensive could we expect those cuts to be?
It would hurt. There's no way around it. In 9 years, Social Security beneficiaries would see a more than 20% across the board cut. In 2035, those on disability insurance would see a 17% cut. And as for Medicare Part A, the current deficit trajectory would initiate a mandatory 11% cut in payments. So imagine all of the health care disruptions that would come with that.
Yeah, it sounds very painful. Atral Nashar reporting live from Washington, D.C. for us. Thank you as always. 5 more arrests have been made in Austin connected to a recent outbreak of opioid overdoses in the city, bringing the total to 7 in the past week. Law enforcement has been seeking to break a recent rise in opioid overdoses. Since a week ago Sunday, there have been nearly 80 opioid overdoses with 9 possible deaths linked to them. The Boy Scouts of America will soon become Scouting America. In an effort to be more inclusive, the organization will change its name after 114 years. The move following recent changes that allowed girls to join the Cub Scouts in 2018 and inaugurated 1,000 girls as Eagle Scouts in the year 2021. Last year, the Boy Scouts entered into a $2.4 billion bankruptcy reorganization to stay afloat as it paid out settlements to more than 80,000 men who said they were sexually abused as children when they were in the group. Coming up, President Biden condemned anti-Semitism in America in a speech today, the new steps he's taking to combat the issue, and how complementary treatments like acupuncture can help cancer patients alongside their traditional care. More on that on the other side. Later, a string of murders in the 1980s remains unsolved, but a group of high school students is working to crack the case. How far they've gotten when we come back. And tonight, tanks on the ground in Rafah. Nearly 24 Gazans killed, including children, as the Israeli military struck targets overnight before seizing control of Gaza's Rafah crossing, a major thoroughfare for aid distribution there. The Biden administration today seeking to downplay the military activity.
They have described that as a limited operation. It appears to be, at least that piece, a limited operation at this time.
This video showing homeless Palestinian civilians fleeing for a second day as they attempt to escape the bombardment of war. With over 100,000 Palestinians now forced to evacuate from Rafah, fears mounting that a highly contentious full-scale invasion is, in fact, quickly escalating. The UN saying the military operation forcing Rafah's crossing to close has now choked off vital aid, threatening to deepen famine. IDF forces have long threatened ground operations in Rafah, citing the need to hunt down Hamas leadership and attempt to rescue hostages. But it's a move that's come with pushback from global powers that argue a diplomatic solution is needed. The incursion underway as Prime Minister Netanyahu rejects a ceasefire proposal that Hamas said it would agree to yesterday because, as he said, it did not meet Israel's core demands. Here's how the New York Times' Thomas Friedman described the rift.
He wants a ceasefire and a hostage return, but not a permanent ceasefire. Hamas wants a prisoner exchange, hostage return, and a permanent ceasefire.
Despite the military action, Israel reportedly sent a delegation to continue ceasefire talks with Hamas, with mediators from Qatar, the United States, and Egypt. And as Israel zeroes in on Rafah, an escalation in those ongoing student protests in solidarity with Gaza. Tension ratcheted up in standoffs with demonstrators at college campuses across the United States, nearly 3 weeks into a movement launched by a protest that began at Columbia University. A wave of activism continues to intensify coast to coast, including at the University of Chicago. We've been tracking this all day. Hundreds of protesters cleared out by police in riot gear after remaining at the campus for more than 8 days. At MIT, meantime, students retook their encampment just hours after mostly vacating the area. And that's at the Rhode Island School of Design. Talks underway there between school administrators and protesters who are now occupying a building as demonstrators across all campuses demand their respective schools provide more transparency over financial ties with Israel. After the Nazis slaughtered 6 million Jews, much of the world vowed never again. President Biden using this Holocaust Remembrance Day to address the problems of rising anti-Semitism in America. Here's national correspondent Kayla Gaskins.
During Tuesday's event meant to commemorate the tragedy of the Holocaust, President Biden addressing a new wound for the Jewish people, Hamas's attack on October 7th. The deadliest day for Jews since the Nazis controlled Germany.
We're already forgetting that Hamas unleashed this terror.
Condemning what he called a ferocious rise in hatred against Jews in America. Hatred that's seeped into protests on college campuses.
Anti-Semitic posters, slogans, calling for the annihilation of Israel. It's absolutely despicable, and it must stop.
Making a call for law and order.
Violent attacks, destroying property is not peaceful protest. It's against the law. And we are not a lawless country.
On Tuesday, the president announcing new actions by his administration to combat the issue. The Department of Education issuing new guidance to schools and universities as to what counts as anti-Semitic discrimination. Federal agencies elevating efforts to address community-based violence, like the vandalism experienced by this Jewish shop owner in Baltimore.
So it looks like they tried to put the beginning with the swastika. They did one side.
Or the 50 gravestones destroyed and damaged in a Jewish cemetery in Rotterdam, New York. Biden's speech Tuesday comes amid mounting criticism from all sides. For some Republicans, the rebuke wasn't quick enough.
What's not clear is why it took so long for President Biden to come to a microphone and condemn anti-Semitism. The reason, in part, is because his base refuses to let him do so.
Progressive Democrats increasingly side against Israel, but Biden says his support of the Jewish state will never waver. On Wednesday, the House Committee on Education and the Workforce will hold a hearing to investigate anti-Semitism in K-12 schools. On Capitol Hill, I'm Kayla Gaskins, reporting for the National Desk, America's News Now.
Kayla, thank you. Social media companies will soon be required to report claims of child trafficking and sexploitation to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This says President Joe Biden today signed the Report Act introduced by Republican Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn, co-sponsored by Democratic Georgia Senator John Ossoff. This legislation, a rare bipartisan effort. Up until now, online platforms were not obligated to hand over this information, making it very hard to investigate these crimes. The new law takes effect in November. An Army soldier who was arrested in Russia on theft charges will be held in pretrial detention for 2 more months. A Russian district court said he'd be there until July 2nd. Black's mother said he was there visiting his girlfriend, although he was not authorized by the Defense Department to travel to Russia. And another U.S. citizen is in a Russian jail for 10 days after passing out drunk in a children's library. That's according to a Moscow court. Officials there said Russell William Nycum is charged with, quote, petty hooliganism. Russian media said he was staying with friends on a tourist visa. This afternoon, Marjorie Taylor Greene met with Speaker Mike Johnson for a second day in a row after making some demands yesterday if she were to drop the motion to vacate the Speaker's chair. They include promising no further aid to Ukraine, no bill being brought to a vote without support from the majority of the majority, defunding special counsel probes into Donald Trump, and automatic spending cuts if no deals are made before a set deadline. Right now, it seems like Greene is willing to give Johnson time. In your health alert, side effects of certain medications can be problematic, especially for cancer patients. But a new study shows complementary care may help ease pain and allow the body to heal. Medical reporter Liz Bonus explains how.
Hey there, hello to you. Just a few months ago, when Santrina Fletcher, a nurse practitioner, was diagnosed with breast cancer, she made the decision to add complementary care to her medical treatment plan. Already, she says, it has made a difference.
In November of 23, I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. And with my medication, they've medically put me into menopause. So I already have symptoms of that, like hot flashes, trouble sleeping, but this has definitely helped with that.
This is acupuncture. Dr. Peter Shang is a physician trained in this practice.
Very frequently, I'm still able to help.
He uses tiny needles in specific pressure points to puncture the skin.
It's tapping into your own body's healing system and let your body work.
The National Institutes of Health found an analysis of 20 studies with more than 6,000 patients shows that acupuncture may specifically help work against pain, help the immune system, and work against some of the side effects of breast cancer medications.
It does multiple things other than just pain management, relax the patient, improve the healing, decrease inflammation without using or resorting to steroid or anti-inflammatory medications.
But Santrina says this hour of acupuncture, also an important message to all of us, that healing happens in a lot of ways.
I think healing is more than just taking a pill. It is exercising, it's eating right, it's drinking a lot of water, it's doing acupuncture. I've also signed up for a yoga class. I didn't exercise in 2023, so it's important to take care of yourself. So I want to definitely send the message that you have to treat your whole body and you have to think outside the box when you want to help with things like cancer and pain.
Santrina has invited us to follow her journey. Her small changes have added up to big results. Acupuncture, sometimes covered by medical insurance plans. If not, it's about $75 to $90 for an initial session. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
All right, Liz, thank you. Maryland's bear season is kicking off with an uptick in sightings. Just ahead, what you can do to keep bears far away from your home. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America.
Mrs. Beth Reynolds is the cafeteria manager at St. Ives. She talks to the students every year about cafeteria rules and emergency protocols. It only took 15 seconds for that lesson to play out in real life.
I was just eating my food and it just got stuck.
Derek couldn't breathe. Friends CJ and Hudson jumped into action.
I say, Mrs. Reynolds, I'm gonna go to the nurse. And she says, go. And I just sprint down the hallway.
Mrs. Reynolds did the Heimlich and the bite of soft taco flew out.
Well, just yesterday morning, there was a bear sighting here in the Sligo Creek section of Silver Spring, and that's why a warning has gone out to Montgomery County residents that we are now in bear season from May to July. So not a bad idea to make sure that your trash bins are secure, your bird feeders are removed or kept out of reach, and grills. Bears love these grills, so make sure these are always closed. Now take a look. This is a photo that was posted just last week by Montgomery Parks. This photo of a recent bear sighting captured on a Ring doorbell camera walking through a front yard in Germantown. In the past week, at least 3 bear sightings have been reported in the county.
High school students in Tennessee are solving a series of unsolved murders that happened in the 1980s. Their sociology teachers started the project in 2018 to give his class real-life experience.
Mr. Campbell gave us a choice whether to go into the textbook or learn and change the world and try and make wrong things right within the world. And I chose that, and everyone else in that class actually chose that.
When they started, many of the victims' women who were strangled and left along an interstate were unidentified. Today, 6 victims have been identified by them. The suspected killer has been indicted for one of the murders, and the class believes it has enough evidence to indict him for a second. Coming up, Instacart will soon be delivering a whole lot more than just groceries. The new feature it's offering when we come back. If you're into takeout, you're in luck. Grocery delivery service Instacart now adding a new restaurant delivery option, partnering with Uber Eats. Soon, you'll be able to place orders on Instacart's app, and then Uber will handle all the logistics. Uber says prices and delivery workers' pay will stay the same. The changes, they roll out in the next few weeks. Very exciting. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the National Desk. We invite you to join us again this evening for more coverage on America's top stories. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching.